For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m.
The time is 10 a.m. Good morning, and thank you for tuning in to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. My name is Tony, and I invite you to listen to our broadcasts both live and on demand. Our live sessions are available on the Blind Community Thrift Store YouTube channel Monday to Friday between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. each week. Additionally, you can access on-demand content through the Audio Reader Network, which offers a wide range of audio materials for the visually impaired community. To explore content from the Audio Reader Network, please visit www.reader.ku.edu. The site provides details about accessing content via Amazon Alexa, Audio Reader Network mobile app, and information on receiving a radio to listen to the broadcast by KSMU Radio. All broadcasts are played over KSMU's subcarrier airwaves at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving a pre-programmed radio. And in breaking news out of Washington this morning, the Supreme Court strikes down Trump's tariffs in a major setback for the president. The Supreme Court dealt a major blow to President Donald Trump's economic agenda, ruling that he does not have the authority to impose sweeping tariffs at the stroke of a pen. The court on February 20th tossed the tariffs that are the centerpiece of his economic policy and a major foreign policy tool, but that have also raised costs for consumers and businesses. It is the first major ruling against Trump's controversial expansive view of presidential power. The president asserts the extraordinary power to unilaterally impose tariffs of unlimited amount, duration, and scope, Chief Justice John Roberts wrote in the 6-3 opinion. In light of the breadth, history, and constitutional context of that asserted authority, he must identify clear congressional authorization to exercise it. Trump, Roberts concluded, cannot. In a dissent joined by Justices Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, Justice Brett Kavanaugh called tariffs a, quote, traditional and common tool to regulate importation that the law gives to the president. The tariffs at issue here may or may not be wise policy, Kavanaugh wrote, but as a matter of text, history, and precedent, they are clearly lawful. And he said the majority's decision says nothing about whether and how the government must return the billions of dollars already collected. The decision could quiet some critics who've complained that the court, which has a 6-3 conservative majority, has allowed Trump to make major policy moves without authorization from Congress after it blocked big initiatives of President Joe Biden, a Democrat. Trump had been counting on the tariffs to boost the federal budget by more than $2 trillion over the next decade and bring manufacturing back to the United States. The president had warned the court that striking down his tariffs would have, quote, catastrophic consequences for our national security, foreign policy, and the economy. But administration officials have also noted they have alternate means of imposing import fees and promised to move quickly to use them. That means the uncertainty about operating costs is likely to persist for retailers and other businesses, even as they celebrate the decision that Trump can't use a 1977 emergency powers law to sidestep a more complex and limited tariffs process laid out in other laws. Tariffs are paid by companies when they import goods from other countries. In anticipation of the ruling, thousands of companies filed lawsuits to try to obtain refunds. The 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act, passed after the Watergate scandal during a time when Congress wanted to rein in executive power, has historically been used to impose economic sanctions and other penalties on foreign countries. But the administration argued that the authority the law gives presidents to regulate importation in response to an unusual and extraordinary threat includes the power to impose tariffs. Beginning in early 2025, Trump used the law to impose tariffs on almost all goods imported into the United States to reduce persistent trade deficits, which he says have hollowed out the nation's manufacturing base. Trump used other tariffs he imposed on goods imported from Mexico, Canada, and China as leverage to get those countries to do more to stop fentanyl from coming into the United States. Multiple small businesses in a dozen states with Democratic attorneys general sued the administration. They argued that Trump stretched the word regulate beyond its plain meaning. If regulate means tax, they said, then a president could tax everything from autos to zoos, even though the Constitution gives Congress the power to raise revenue. During the November oral arguments, the Justice Department described the tariffs as, quote, regulatory, imposed for foreign and domestic policy reasons rather than to boost the government's coffers. But Trump had also bragged about tariffs being a substantial revenue raiser. Still, the administration argued that Congress wanted presidents to have major power over international trade during an emergency, and that's appropriate because the Constitution gives presidents broad authority in foreign affairs. Lower courts sided with the challengers, although the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit was divided. Polls consistently show that the tariffs are unpopular. The cases of Learning Resources versus Trump and Trump versus VOS selections were the first time a challenge to a policy Trump enacted during his second term got a full hearing at the Supreme Court. Until deciding those cases, the justices had issued only interim decisions about whether Trump's policies could remain in effect while they're being litigated. In those temporary rulings, Trump has been overwhelmingly successful. And in further political news, are you interested in running for a Greene County office? Here's what to know. Coming to us from Marta Meads at the Springfield News-Leader. In addition to state-level elections, 2026 will also be a year for Greene County local elections. While the primaries are still a ways away in August, filing for countywide offices begins next week. Here's everything to know about filing for office. So which Greene County offices are up for election? In Greene County, the following offices will be up for election August 4th. Auditor, Collector of Revenue, Circuit Clerk, County Clerk, Presiding Commissioner, Prosecuting Attorney, and Recorder of Deeds. All of these offices have a 4-year term. Several positions will also be open for Greene County Republican and Democratic Central Committees. For each ward and township, both committees have a committee woman and a committee man position. These are 2-year positions. The role of the committee is to support the candidates running under the party in the area, whether through campaigning or helping facilitate events. Both committees also have regular meetings throughout the year. Lanai Gillespie, chair of the Greene County Democratic Central Committee, said at a news conference Tuesday, February 17th, that the committee has 20 seats set up for election in the upcoming election. She said Greene County has the most committee roles in the state because of the way it is divided up. Danette Proctor, chair of the Greene County Republican Central Committee, said there will be 19 races open for the primary, though the committee has 30 openings. Independent candidates are able to run in the general election by submitting a signed petition to the Greene County Clerk's office by 5 p.m. on July 27th. In Greene County, independent candidates need to gather signatures from at least 2% of the total number of registered voters who voted at the last election for candidates for the office being sought. For each office, this number will vary slightly, but comes to roughly 1,600 for most, with the exception of Recorder of Deeds, which would require 1,923 signatures. So who can run for county office? All of those interested in serving in county office must be U.S. citizens, residents of the state for at least 1 year preceding the election, and be registered to vote. For all offices except for presiding commissioner and committeemen and committeewomen, candidates must be over the age of 21. For certain county offices, there are specific qualifications for candidates to meet. For auditor, you must be a resident of the county for at least 3 months preceding the next election and familiar with theory and practice of accounting by education, training, and experience. For a circuit clerk, you must be a resident of the county for at least 3 months preceding the next election. For a collector of revenue, you must be a resident of the county for at least a year preceding the next election, and you must meet the statutory bond requirements for the office. As county clerk, you must be a resident of the county for at least a year preceding the next election. As presiding commissioner, you must be a resident of the county. As prosecuting attorney, you must be a resident of the county at least a year preceding the next election and licensed to practice law in Missouri. To be the recorder of deeds, you must be a resident of the state and county at least a year preceding the next election, and you are required to provide a copy of a signed affidavit from a surety company indicating that the candidate meets bond requirements. To be a township or ward committeeman or committeewoman, you must be a resident of the county and committee district for 1 year preceding the next election and registered voter in the county and district for 1 year preceding the election. So what's needed to file for election? Those interested in running for election need to ensure all taxes have been paid, sign an affidavit declaring so, fill out a form declaring their candidacy, and complete a notice to candidate acknowledgement from the Missouri Ethics Commission at the time of their filing. While the Form 5120 from the Missouri Department of Revenue regarding tax payments and bonding requirements is now available to be filled out online, County Clerk Shane Scholler said a physical copy of the document must still be filed with the clerk's office during candidacy filing. Since these are partisan elections, interested candidates will have to pay a $100 filing fee to the affiliated local political party. Filing fees may be waived by filing a declaration of inability to pay and a petition endorsing the filer's candidacy. Those interested in being elected to their respective party committee are exempt from the filing fee and an affidavit on delinquent taxes. Committee persons do have to submit a Greene County Acknowledgement of Committee Persons form, however. So when and where do you file as a candidate? Filing for Greene County offices and committee members will open on Tuesday, February 24th at 8 a.m. Candidates have until 5 p.m. on March 31st to file to run in the races. Candidate filing will be conducted in the Greene County Clerk's office at the Greene County Historic Courthouse at 940 North Boonville Avenue in room 113. You can find more information, such as a candidate filing guide, on the county clerk's office or at the county clerk's office or online at vote.greencountymo.gov. And a new clinic on MSU campus combines several speech, hearing, and counseling services. From Joe Hadsall at the Springfield Daily Citizen, he says, with construction completed, Missouri State University has opened a new medical clinic that collects several health-related services into one space. The Collaborative Care Clinic opened last month inside Ann Campeter Health Sciences Hall. Part of the McQuarrie College of Health and Human Services, the clinic meshes education with community service by giving graduate students a chance to gain practical experience in their fields. An open house has been scheduled for 2 p.m. Friday, February 20th at the clinic located at 609 East Cherry Street. Tours will be available after a ceremony marking its opening. The completion of the clinic bolsters the medical training programs offered at the university, said Mark Smith, dean of the college. The Collaborative Care Clinic provides 300 graduate students studying to be audiologists, speech language pathologists, counselors, and psychologists with real-world clinical experiences as they look to enter their respective fields, Smith said. The clinic provides a safe setting to train healthcare professionals. It combines several existing services into a common location, said Letitia White-Minnis, Associate Dean in a university publication. Through the clinic, people can get services for counseling, diagnostics and treatments for speech-language pathology, hearing and balance testing, diagnostics for hearing aids, and diagnostics for psychological needs. This new facility allows us to bring services together in one collaborative space while expanding supervised hands-on learning opportunities for our students, White-Minnis said. At the same time, it reinforces our role as a community partner by providing high-quality, accessible care. The clinic takes up more than half the space in Campeter Hall's first floor. It replaces the former speech-language hearing clinic, giving each of those services a dedicated clinical area with a shared patient waiting room and centralized check-in, as well as coordinated staffing. Following is a photo of the waiting area at the Collaborative Care Clinic in the common space. Several chairs set up and a welcoming monitor right next to the reception desk. It is open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday and Friday, and 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tuesday through Thursday, and is open to community members. The clinic marks the completion of a second phase of renovations at the hall. In 2022, a multi-year overhaul of the building was completed, and the hall was named in recognition of gifts from Ann Campeter, a member of the university's Board of Governors and a trustee on the Missouri State University Foundation Board. The project cost about $7.9 million. About half of that came from federal COVID recovery funds, and about $1.6 million came from a Mo Excels grant from the state of Missouri. Smith said that while some spaces in the building remain in need of upgrades, no future projects are planned at this time. Diagnostic services are available free of charge to community members. Counseling services, as well as equipment such as hearing aids, are available on sliding scales. And Zoe McIntyre at the Springfield Daily Citizen tells us that Springfield Kratom stores rebrand following a wrongful death suit. 2 Sunshine Street convenience stores have rebranded after a Springfield mother filed a wrongful death lawsuit in 2025, alleging her son died after using kratom products he purchased from the Vape CBD Kratom Superstore at 1735 West Sunshine Street. The 2 former Vape CBD Kratom Superstores have since rebranded to Vape and Smoke. Kratom products are still available on the shelves, although an employee said that the business is no longer selling products that boast concentrated 7-hydroxymetragenine, or 7-OH. 7-hydroxymetragenine is a chemical found in kratom that is associated with addiction, overdose, and death, according to the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services. Kratom has been a focus of Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway, whose office launched an investigation into the drug, particularly 7-OH products, late last year. The Food and Drug Administration is also pushing for 7-OH to be regulated. Breck Brossett, 38, was found dead on October 9, 2022, according to previous Daily Citizen reporting. His cause of death was listed as metragenine intoxication. Metragenine is the active ingredient in kratom. Brossett had no other illicit or illegal drugs in his system, according to the toxicology report. The lawsuit claims Brossett spent over $10,000 on kratom from the vape CBD Kratom Superstore locations in 2021 and 2022. A defendant in the litigation, Sunshine Ventures Incorporated, is the business entity behind the convenience stores, according to the lawsuit. The petition states, quote, as a result of decedent Breck Brossett's addiction and his increased tolerance to kratom and its active substances of metragenine and 7-hydroxymetragenine, decedent increased the frequency of his intake and the amount of his intake. Breck Brossett was 38 when he died on October 9, 2022. Following an autopsy, his cause of death was listed as metragenine intoxication. Kratom is an herbal extract that comes from the leaves of Metragena speciosa tree, which grows in Southeast Asia. Some users say kratom boosts their energy, helps them relax, or relieves pain. Some take kratom to ease the withdrawal symptoms that come with quitting opioids, though kratom comes with its own risks of addiction, withdrawal, and overdose. According to the FDA, kratom is not a lawful dietary supplement, food additive, or ingredient in any approved drug. In July 2025, the FDA called on the Drug Enforcement Administration to classify 7-OH as a Schedule I substance. FDA Commissioner Martin McCary stated in a press conference that scientifically, by definition, 7-OH is an opioid. In December 2025, the FDA announced that U.S. Marshals seized tens of thousands of units of 7-OH, valued at roughly $1 million, from 3 companies in Missouri. Both the FDA and Missouri Attorney General have warned consumers that kratom products may drastically vary in potency. Attorney Nick Brand, representing Deborah Brossett in her wrongful death suit, previously told the Daily Citizen, "There's one case that I have where we have 2 separate tests of the potency of the metragenine within their kratom products, and one has a potency of 16 milligrams per gram of metragenine within the product, and the other one has a potency of 390 milligrams per gram. I mean, imagine you're holding 2 cans of beer, and one of them was 24 times stronger than the other one, and you had no idea based on the packaging or labeling. You take one and you don't get much. You take another and you die. It's scary." Sunshine Ventures Incorporated is one of the defendants in the wrongful death suit, which names it as the business entity in control of the recently rebranded vape and smoke stores in Springfield. Sunshine Ventures is registered to Hamid Roth of Grandview, Missouri, according to Missouri Secretary of State records. According to a website for Sunshine Ventures, the company is a, quote, full-scale supply warehouse integrated with gas stations and convenience stores, offering a wide range of products from everyday essentials to specialty goods. Ralph and operators of Vape and Smoke did not respond to multiple requests for comment for this article. Hunter Parker, an employee at the Vape and Smoke on East Sunshine Street since December 2025, said the store is no longer selling 7-OH products. "When I was first hired, I was told they had recently stopped selling 7-OH, Parker said in a February 17th phone interview. "I'm okay working here because they told me they're not doing the 7-hydroxy, which is more dangerous." Parker said he estimated that about half of the customers he serves purchase kratom. The business also sells cigarettes, CBD, and vape products. "People should be careful about substance abuse disorder," Parker said. Consumers can still purchase concentrated 7-OH products, which the FDA says are, quote, increasingly recognized as having potential for abuse, from a number of businesses in Springfield. It is difficult to estimate how many stores are selling it. There is no specific license or classification for kratom retailers. In an email, Krista Millam, Senior Communications Coordinator for the City of Springfield, explained, any shop selling kratom would be categorized as a merchant retail, which would include a tobacco vape designation on the license if they were selling tobacco and vape products. However, kratom may or may not be sold in that form. A Springfield attorney and founder of Safe and Sober writes that consumers should beware of 7-0H, a potent and addictive kratom derivative. And we have a number of fancy holidays today, starting with Clean Out Your Bookcase Day, National Caregivers Day, Love Your Pet Day, National Comfy Day, that one sounds lovely, and National Handcuff Day, just to name a few. And speaking of National Handcuff Day, a Springfield man has been found guilty of threatening a judge and his family. Coming to us from Jackie Rewald at the Springfield Daily Citizen, a Springfield man who's faced numerous felony charges since 2020, including for threatening a Greene County judge and the judge's family, was found guilty on Wednesday, February 18th of 2 counts of tampering with a judicial officer. Aiden Xavier War Harper, age 44, was convicted on 2 felony charges following a 2-day jury trial presided over by Special Judge David Allen Cole. According to a news release from the Greene County Prosecutor's Office, the jury deliberated about an hour before returning with the guilty verdict. Prosecutors say Harper used obscene words more than 20 times while speaking to a judge while appearing via video from the Greene County Jail in a civil order of protection hearing in 2024. After the judge denied his request for an order of protection, Harper directed a series of vulgar and threatening statements at the judge, telling the court that the judge and his family would, quote, get what they deserve, and offering his condolences to the judge's family, the release stated in part. In a separate criminal hearing before the same judge, Harper again made threatening statements, warning the judge that if the judge did not recuse himself from the case, Harper could, quote, send word out to the streets to have civilians come after the judge to arrest him, and asking whether the judge wanted Harper to use deadly force on you or your family. Harper called the judge Lucifer, threatened the judge's family, and accused the judge of being in a sexual relationship with a prosecuting attorney. These statements were made at 2 different court hearings in April 2024. Harper, who has 5 prior felony convictions dating back to 2003, is currently serving an unrelated prison sentence, the release stated. As a persistent offender, convicted of a Class D felony, he faces sentencing at the Class C felony range of 3 to 10 years in the Missouri Department of Corrections for each count. He will be sentenced in April. The integrity of our courts and the safety of those who serve them are foundational to our entire system of justice, Greene County Prosecuting Attorney Dan Patterson said in the release. Threats against a judge, whether made in open court or elsewhere, will not be tolerated, and this verdict sends a clear message that such conduct carries serious consequences. And as I mentioned, we have a lot of fancy holidays today, so some of the others that have come up today: National Cherry Pie Day, National Muffin Day, National Women's Heart Day, Friday Fish Fry Day, and, of course, appropriately, to go with that, National Tartar Sauce Day. So, speaking of tartar sauce, fish fry, and food news, coming to us from 417 Magazine, let's talk Springfield food news. So what happens when the creative folks at Finley Farms and 4x4 Brewing Company team up? Apparently, a new lager. We've been excited about this collaborative beer ever since they dropped the news a couple of months back, and the time is almost here to give it a taste. Mark your calendars for the Golden Hour Lager launch party on Friday, March 20th from 4 to 9 p.m. at the Workshop Patio at Finley Farms. In addition to getting to be among the first to taste the new beer, you'll also get to enjoy live music and wood-fired pizza. What's extra special about this lager is the story behind it. For the first time since 1992, the Ozark mill is being used to mill barley. Lead miller Blake Adams handles the barley prep, and then they pass it along to the talented team at 4x4 Brewing Company for fermentation and canning. Excuse me, there's a new breakfast joint coming soon. Paul's Breakfast House will be joining the Branson dining scene this spring, and it looks like it'll be offering tasty delights like cinnamon rolls and unique flavors like raspberry cream cheese. Big portion sizes, we're talking French toast that measures a foot long, and fun 80s vibes. According to reporting by Billy Dove of 417 Foodist, everything is on track for an April opening, and they'll be serving not just breakfast but also lunch. It sounds like the perfect place for a breakfast pit stop on your way to the lake or a lavish lunch before an afternoon of shopping at the Branson Landing. We'll see you there. Moving on, it's fish fry season. This was published on Fat Tuesday, so you know what that means. Today we feast, and tomorrow we start planning out which fish fries to attend. If there's one business in town we can count on to help us on both accounts, it's Seafood Express. Today they're offering classic NOLA fish po' boys, and this Friday and Saturday they'll be hosting a good old-fashioned fish fry. Express Foods brought back several hundred king cakes from Louisiana this year, and 417 Landers bought every last one. If you want to snag one for yourself next year, be sure to plan ahead. This past Saturday, a small SUV crashed into Thai Palace at 3250 East Battlefield Road. Fortunately, no one was injured, but unfortunately, this most likely means the restaurant will be closed for a bit. Thai Palace hasn't posted any announcements about how long this will affect business operations, so be sure to call ahead before making plans to dine there anytime soon. It's time for a friendly PSA to enroll in Millsap Farms CSA. Not only will you get access to loads of locally grown veggies, but you'll also get the satisfaction of knowing you're supporting our local farmers. By joining, you'll be helping the Millsap crew cover the cost of soil, seeds, and labor for the season ahead. If you love sushi, sake, and the Mizumoto Japanese Stroll Garden, this event is for you. The Springfield Sister Cities Association and Springfield Botanical Center will host its second Sushi and Sake tasting event at the Mitsumoto Japanese Stroll Garden from 6 to 8 p.m. on Saturday, March 28th. Come expecting sushi and desserts from Momo Sushi and Grill, and music by Diane Doherty, a Kansas City-based scholar of Japanese folklore and performing arts. Proceeds go toward maintenance for the Mitsumoto Japanese Stroll Garden. And after a month-long closure, Taj Mahal Indian Restaurant is reopening. Looks like it just reopened Wednesday, February 18th. So you know what that means. Time for some of that delicious naan and chicken curry. And in sad news this week, we have a couple of obituaries in the last couple of days. First is Clement Woodson Woody Cockrell. He passed away on January 31st, 2026, after living with cancer for more than 6 years. He was born on March 13th, 1950 in Springfield, Missouri, to Bill and Belle Cockrell. On June 17th, 1972, Woody married Kathy Bowers, and they shared more than 53 years of marriage. He was a graduate of Greenwood Laboratory School and Southwest Missouri State University. Woody worked for MOCIC for 35 years as a comptroller and was known for his dedication and integrity. He was a devoted husband, father, and grandfather. Woody is survived by his wife, Kathy, his sons, Brian and Bill, Brian's wife, Laura, his grandchildren, Grace and Aaron, his brother, Chris, and wife, Mary, his sister-in-law and brother-in-law, Carol and Chris Dale, and many nieces and nephews. He was preceded in death by his parents, Bill and Belle Cockrell. In lieu of flowers, memorial donations may be made to Christ Episcopal Church in Springfield, Missouri. Memorial services will be Saturday, May 30th, 2026 at 10 a.m. at Christ Episcopal Church. Online condolences may be made at www.gormansharf.com. Also, we have Frank Manning Cupp, who passed away at the age of 102 this past Wednesday, February 18th, 2026. He was born to Charles S. and Dorothy E. Cupp on November 6th, 1923 in Caldwell, Kansas. He was the youngest of 4 boys. He grew up in Las Cruces, New Mexico. After graduating high school, he was inducted into the Air Force. He served 2.5 years in China, Burma, India, and Guam in the 20th Air Force 58th B-29 Bomb Wing. Upon returning from the Air Force, he went to work for Boeing Aircraft as a cost estimator. In 1960, he transferred to the Air Force Martin Marietta office in Denver, Colorado, where he estimated, evaluated, and negotiated manufacturing and tooling costs at the Space Systems Division in Los Angeles, California. While there, he also pursued a contract and grants program with the University of Virginia. He later joined the U.S. Office of Education in Denver as a contracting and grants officer for an 8-state region. Frank met the love of his life, Audie Cudney. They were married in 1953. They were married for 73 wonderful years. Wow. The two of them loved to travel worldwide. He is a member of Kingsway United Methodist Church, the Kiwanis Club, the Lions Club, and a lifetime member of the National Grants and Management Association. A visitation will be Saturday, February 28, 2026 at 10 a.m. with a service at 11 a.m. at Gorman Sharp Brentwood Chapel. Burial will be at 2 p.m. in High Cemetery in Berryville, Arkansas. And Marta Meets with the Springfield News-Leader says that Greene County residents fear dangers of battery storage site proposal. Dozens of Greene County residents filled the courtroom in the historic courthouse on Tuesday, February 17th, many standing for more than 2 hours at the Greene County Planning Board meeting. They filed into a standing room-only meeting to show their opposition to a proposed rezoning that would allow for a battery energy storage system, or BESS. Alabama-based energy solution company Sophos Power is proposing to rezone roughly 40 acres of agricultural land just north of Springfield as a plot assignment district that would specifically allow them to develop the area to store containers of lithium-ion batteries. Planning board members heard roughly 2 hours of testimony from nearby residents who raised concerns about an insufficient emergency response plan, damage to county infrastructure from development, and contamination of nearby water wells and Springfield's drinking water. Ultimately, the board unanimously recommended denial of the rezoning, emphasizing that the lot at 4873 North Rocky Lane was just not the right place for such a project. Following is a photo of many people standing in the meeting as the Greene County Planning Board heard about 2 hours of testimony. So, what did Sophos Power propose? The facility and development itself would take up 16.5 acres of the total 40-acre lot. The BESS would be a way to store power during low-demand periods to then be released when there is a surge in demand, improving reliability of the grid during extreme events. According to planning documents, the project would be interconnected with the nearby city utilities substation, and Sophos would enter into a generator interconnection agreement with the Southwest Power Pool and CU, contingent upon regional project study schedules. CU is currently constructing its own battery storage facilities that will add 36 megawatts of battery storage within the system split between the Blackman Water Treatment Plant and the James River Power Substation. Unlike what's proposed by Sophos, CU will be storing zinc-based batteries that are non-flammable, fully recyclable, and considered among the safest forms of grid-scale energy storage available, according to previous News-Leader reporting. The rezoning states that the property would only have one access way, using Rocky Lane, which is a private road off of Farm Road 84. This was a concern for safety and fire response, but also brought worries of damage to the county roads that connect the lane that would carry industrial equipment to the lot. Alex Fukuchi, project director for Best Development with Sophos, explained that lithium-ion battery cells would be stored in large lithium battery enclosures, the same size as storage containers and equipped with cooling technology, placed on concrete pads and connected with power conversion systems. He testified that each storage container weighs roughly 100,000 pounds, and there would be 242 BESS containers on the property. Fukuchi said that while the company, originating from Spain, currently has older solar power operations in the U.S., it is still working on starting up BESS operations stateside. The lack of experience was a concern for residents and planning board members alike. "I don't want to be a guinea pig," nearby resident Regina Reynolds said. "I mean, you hear everything and the possibilities of what could happen. Their inexperience could cause every single one of these things to happen." The facility would not require staff on site during operations, but instead would be monitored remotely, Fukuchi said. The developer's representative said the investment, presented to be $285 million in equipment, costs, and development, would generate additional tax revenue in the region, resulting in millions of additional dollars going to the county. According to the planning documents, construction is estimated to take up to a year. If rezoning is approved, the document notes the earliest commercial operations could commence is in 2028 or 2029. Greene County planning staff had recommended approval of the rezoning, though with several restrictions baked into the zoning district. Those included following the same setbacks as the agriculture zoning district, devoting at least 30% of the total lot to open space, having exterior lighting be dark sky compliant, and requiring a decommission plan to be implemented at the end of the facility's useful life. Because the facility would be outside of Springfield city limits, any emergency response would fall outside of Springfield Fire Department's purview. Instead, Ebenezer Fire District would be the one to respond. Ebenezer Fire Chief Nelson Pruitt, who addressed the planning board Tuesday, said the district has 16 full-time firefighters, with 4 staffed on shift around the clock. The small fire district lacks the specialized training and equipment necessary to respond to a fire that involves hazardous chemicals, especially at the proposed scale. Paul Brown with Energy Safety Response Group told the planning board that the best course of action in the event of a fire is to let the fire consume itself. With remote monitoring around the clock, when issues arise, units can be shut off remotely. He noted that fire events are rare, especially for BESS, and largely happen at substations instead. Brown said that regarding water needs and secondary containment, more conversations would need to occur with the local fire department. With mutual aid agreements in place, Pruitt said Springfield Fire Department would be tapped in to respond to any incident at the proposed facility. However, if for some reason Springfield's hazmat response was unavailable, he said the next closest option would be in Columbia or Jefferson City. Even for a regular structure fire, Pruitt said roughly 5 departments in the region respond through mutual aid. Springfield Fire Chief David Pennington sent a letter to the county ahead of the Tuesday meeting as the chair of the Regional Hazardous Material Response Authority. The letter highlights hazards such as the release of toxic combustion byproducts, potential for explosions, and thermal runaway, which would result in the release of flammable and toxic gases into the air. Pruitt testified that the draft emergency response plan provided to him by the developer fell short in addressing explosions or hazardous gases that would be released into the air. With the property in unincorporated Greene County, he noted that the developer does not have to adhere to strict fire code requirements. Pennington's letter also indicated the lack of such a fire code in the county means there is no codified mechanism to mandate emergency response coordination and maintain inspection authority. In other fires involving batteries around the country, Pruitt said responses varied. Some fires burned for several hours before being extinguished, while others required days or weeks before being sufficiently suppressed, requiring large volumes of water in the process. "I don't think anyone here is ready or knows enough to make a decision," he said. "I know we're not ready." Multiple fire experts who spoke Tuesday noted the site did not have adequate water supply present for emergency response. Pruitt asked that if the rezoning goes through, water hydrants be installed on the property. With several sinkholes present on the property in question and the karst topography in the region, several residents warned of possible water contamination in the event of fire response. Neighbors rely on private wells for their drinking water, and the property is not far from McDaniel and Fellows Lakes, used by CU as the primary sources of water. Pennington has also highlighted this as a concern in his memo to the county. "Please do not put a potential disaster, a battery energy storage system, on top of sinkholes," said Gail Emery, a speaker designated for those speaking in opposition. "Is this a risk the county believes it can take on financially and ethically?" Representative Bill Owen was also among those present and addressing the planning board Tuesday night. He referenced previous Greene County sites that were contaminated in the past, leaving locals to deal with the consequences such as the Lytton plant. Owen said that when he reached out to the Missouri Department of Natural Resources on Sophos's proposal, they were not aware of it. "We're not just talking about 15 or 20,000 people, as we've mentioned. We're talking about the drinking water for all of Springfield," he said. We're talking an impact that can impact over 200,000 people. The property is surrounded by agricultural land. Several speakers Tuesday night also emphasized that there's been no consideration given to how livestock would be evacuated in the event of a hazardous situation. Others highlighted that the county's land use plan designates this area as appropriate for residential uses. Beyond the testimony heard Tuesday night, Planning Board Vice Chairman Mike Scott said the board had received 81 letters in opposition of the rezoning. The large response to the matter was recognized by the board, but also members of the community who were touched by the collective voice of the residents. "I love you people. This is community," said J.J. Hetherington, who's been developing the canopy south of the proposed development. "We don't all live within 500 feet of this. Our community is a bunch of people that own land, have property, have animals. We're all in love with this area." While the planning board unanimously rejected the rezoning, with board member Michael Lloyd absent, the matter will still go before the Greene County Commission for a final ruling. That is scheduled to occur at 9:30 a.m. Monday, March 2nd at the historic courthouse, room 212. As the rotating commission member on the planning board, Commissioner Rusty McLaughlin also voted to deny the rezoning Tuesday night. A similar BES was already proposed by a different developer in Christian County in 2024, but was denied rezoning by the Christian County Commission. We are currently broadcasting live from the Blind Community Thrift Store situated at 2713 North Kansas Expressway in Springfield, Missouri. For additional information about our store, please visit our official website at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. To explore more of our video content, including movie reviews with Matt and Meredith, adaptive technology training videos, and other informative material, please visit our YouTube channel by searching for Blind Community Thrift Store. Our organization is dedicated to supporting the blind community through various initiatives, and our online platforms serve as valuable resources for community engagement and education. Coming to us from the Springfield News-Leader and Janice Reeser, Cox Health has added 2 new leaders to guide its expanding mission. Cox Health has added 2 new members to its board of directors. Logan Aguirre and Jocelyn Baldner have joined the board, according to a community announcement. Aguirre is publisher and owner of Whitaker Publishing, which produces 417 Magazine, Biz 417, and other regional lifestyle publications. She is known for her connections in Springfield and Southwest Missouri. Logan always has her finger on the pulse of our area, Max Buteau, Cox Health's president and CEO, said in the announcement. Her insight and community involvement will help guide us as we broaden our reach across Southwest Missouri. Baldner is the president and CEO of Central Bank, which the announcement called one of the region's top-performing banks. She has more than 25 years of experience in the banking industry. Jocelyn's commitment to the well-being of Springfield and the surrounding area goes far beyond the work she does in the banking world, Buteau said in the announcement. Her dedication and service-minded leadership will play a meaningful role in shaping the decisions of our board moving forward. Cox Health is the only locally owned, not-for-profit tertiary health system in the region. It is governed by a 27-member volunteer board of directors made up of community, business, and industry leaders. Aguirre and Baldner will begin their board service immediately, according to the announcement. And in further business news, from the ground up, Sunshine Town Center at 3400 West Sunshine Street, Karen Crago, a reporter with the Springfield Business Journal, says that with all the attention on Springfield's second Target, a 148,000 square foot retail store scheduled to open on March 15th, according to past Springfield Business Journal reporting, it would be easy to overlook what's going on up beside it at the intersection of Sunshine Street and Kansas Expressway. That's a retail shopping center with divisible space ranging 1,875 to 9,375 square feet to accommodate multiple commercial tenants. Triple net leasing is offered at a rate of $35 to $75 per square foot per year, according to a post on the website of Jared Commercial and Management, LLC. Curtis Jarrett of Jared Commercial and Management said he is working with potential tenants, but is not yet ready to make an announcement about them. A community improvement district has been established for the retail center and outlots, not including Target. Through it, 1% will be collected for 27 years and is estimated to generate some $2.2 million to reimburse public improvements to the 23-acre site, according to past SBJ reporting. And a Nixa company linked to 4x4 Brewing Company files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Coming to us from Gregory Holman, the deputy editor at the Springfield Business Journal. Brutiful Properties, LLC, a company that owns 4x4 Brewing Company, LLC's Nixa Brewery location at 9003 Sawgrass Avenue, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in the U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the Eastern District of Missouri earlier this month, as federal court records show. A case filed under Chapter 11 of the United States Bankruptcy Code is frequently referred to as a reorganization bankruptcy, according to the website of the federal court system. A Chapter 11 debtor, which can be a business corporation, a partnership, or an individual, proposes a restructuring plan to keep its business alive and make payments to creditors over time, and may also seek debt relief in Chapter 11. Along with the Nixa location of 4x4 Brewing in the Fremont Hills area that opened in 2023, the brewery has a Springfield location in the Galloway area that opened in 2017, according to past Springfield Business Journal coverage. The bankruptcy filing shows Brutiful Properties holds a lease with 28 months remaining for the building at Springfield's 2811 East Galloway Street, occupied by 4x4 Brewing for business operations. The move to file for bankruptcy protection from Nixa's Brutiful Properties comes slightly less than a month since Springfield's 4x4 Brewing Company, LLC, filed for bankruptcy in the Western District of Missouri, according to past SBJ coverage. In a brief phone interview Monday, 4x4 Brewing co-owner Derek Scheimal said the latest voluntary petition for Chapter 11 bankruptcy pertains to the real estate side of the overall 4x4 Brewing venture and its bankruptcy protection process. It's all in essence one, Scheimal told SBJ, referencing the two bankruptcy petitions. Scheimal said that a statement the 4x4 Brewing owners issued last month when 4x4 Brewing first sought Chapter 11 protections was also relevant to the Brutiful Properties bankruptcy filing this month. The statement read in part, quote, "This restructuring is about strengthening our foundation, not ending it." 4x4 Brewing owners also said last month that the company emphasized that this is not a closure and both of its taproom locations will remain open and operating as normal. The owners added, "Like many small breweries, we've faced significant financial headwinds in recent years. The restructuring allows us to realign our finances, strengthen operations, and keep doing what we love, serving our community and brewing great beer." Brutiful Properties described its business as a single-asset real estate in its voluntary petition filed February 5th and noted that its affiliate, 4x4 Brewing Company, LLC, also has a pending bankruptcy case. The 4x4 Brewing Chapter 11 case was initiated January 15th, according to past SBJ reporting. Brutiful Properties reported $3.7 million in assets to federal court authorities. The company's liabilities totaled just over $4.8 million, of which just roughly $114,000 were owed to unsecured creditors. Creditors listed in the bankruptcy petition include the Christian County Collector for some $114,000 in real estate taxes due in 2024 and 2025. Other major creditors include Arvest Bank, the U.S. Small Business Administration, and SWMO Management, LLC, for payments related to 9003 Sawgrass Avenue, where the Nixa Brewery is located, and an adjacent property at 9001 Sawgrass Avenue. The brewery property was valued at $3.2 million, while the adjacent property was valued at $500,000, according to the petition. The bankruptcy filing shows Brutiful Properties owes nearly $2.5 million to Arvest Bank for two loans related to the Sawgrass Avenue properties, secured by $3.2 million in collateral. The Small Business Administration Little Rock Commercial Loan Servicing Center is owed just shy of $1.4 million in payments on the 9003 Sawgrass Avenue property, the Chapter 11 filing shows. Brutiful owes Poplar Bluff-based Southern Bank $387,000 towards payments on 9001 Sawgrass Avenue, the property adjacent to the brewery location, the bankruptcy filing shows. It also owes $500,000 to SWMO Management, LLC, for payments related to both 9003 Sawgrass Avenue, where the brewery is located, and the property next door at 9001 Sawgrass Avenue. 4x4 Brewing and its co-owners, Chris Schaefer, Sheila Follis Schaefer, Danielle Scheimal, Derek Scheimal, Justin Steenberg, Stacy Steenberg, Kelly Dobbs, and Stephen Dobbs are listed as co-debtors. And what to know as trout season opens March 1st. Coming to us with Janice Reeser with the Springfield News-Leader. Anglers will get a chance starting 6:30 a.m. on March 1st to catch trout at Missouri State Parks. The catch and keep trout season will run through October 31st, according to a community announcement. The trout parks are at Roaring River, Bennett Spring, and Montauk State Parks. To fish for trout, Missouri residents age 16 to 64 and non-residents ages 16 and older must have a fishing permit. In addition, anglers must purchase a daily trout tag, which can be bought at the trout parks, according to the announcement. The daily tag costs $5 for adults and $3 for youth 15 and younger. Daily fishing permits are $9. Anglers are allowed to catch up to 4 trout per day with the possession limit of 8. Fishing permits can be purchased ahead of time from various vendors across Missouri, online at mdc-web.s3licensing.com or through the Missouri Department of Conservation's free Mo Fishing mobile app. Stores at the trout parks will be open for purchasing trout tags. At Montauk State Park, the store will be open from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Friday, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Saturday, and 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sunday. The restaurant will be open 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Friday, 8 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Saturday, and 7 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Sunday. At Bennett Spring Park, this store will be open 1 to 8 p.m. Friday, 9 a.m. Saturday, and will remain open overnight and will close at 9 p.m. Sunday. The restaurant at Bennett Spring will be closed Friday, open noon to 9 p.m. Saturday, and 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sunday. Roaring River State Park store hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Friday, 8 a.m. Saturday, and will remain open overnight and will close at 8 p.m. Sunday. The restaurant will be open 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Friday through Sunday. Roaring River State Park is located near Cassville. Bennett Springs State Park is located near Lebanon, and Montauk State Park is located near Salem. The park's campgrounds, lodging units, and restaurants are expected to be busy. Visitors should bring their own water and snacks and dress appropriately for the weather. Opening day photos and trout tag sales information from all 3 state trout parks will be available on the trout season opening day webpage. Anglers can share their photos from opening day on social media by tagging at most state parks or using the hashtag #MoTrout on Facebook, X, and Instagram. Trout season in Missouri is a cooperative effort between the Missouri Department of Natural Resources Division of State Parks, which manages the state parks, and the Missouri Department of Conservation, which operates the hatcheries and stocks the streams with trout. To help prevent the spread of invasive alga didymo, also known as rock snot, the use of shoes, boots, or waders with porous soles made of felt, matted, or woven fibrous material is prohibited at all trout parks, trout streams, Lake Taneycomo, and buffer areas. For more information on trout season opening, visit mostateparks.com or call Roaring River State Park at 417-847-2539, Bennett Springs State Park at 417-532-4338, or Montauk State Park at 573-548-2201. And Centerstone names Brian Baucom the CIO to guide post-merger tech strategy. At the Springfield News-Leader, Janice Reeser says that Brian Baucom has been named the Chief Information Officer of Centerstone. Centerstone merged with Brightly in November of 2025, creating the nation's largest nonprofit behavioral health provider, according to a community announcement. Baucom will lead the technology strategy for the merged organization. In his new role, Baucom will oversee several technology areas, including the help desk, IT infrastructure, business applications, data analytics, electronic health records, and cybersecurity. He will focus on aligning technology with organizational priorities, enhancing system reliability and security, and providing teams with the necessary tools and data to support high-quality care. I'm honored to step into the role of Chief Information Officer and grateful for the trust placed in me, Balcom said in the announcement. In healthcare, and especially in behavioral health, technology plays a critical role in supporting clinicians, protecting sensitive information, and ensuring continuity of care. I look forward to partnering with our IT teams and colleagues across the organization to strengthen our systems, advance secure and reliable access to data, and support the delivery of high-quality, compassionate care to the individuals and communities we serve. Before joining Centerstone, Balcom held leadership roles at Springfield, Missouri-based Brightly, Women's Hospital in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Integris Health in Oklahoma, and served as a strategic advisor for Walmart Health and Pharmacy. He holds a Master of Business Administration with a specialization in Healthcare Administration from Oklahoma City University and 2 Bachelor of Business Administration degrees with specializations in Management Information Systems and Marketing from the University of Central Oklahoma. All right, let's take a look at how much Midwest gas prices have dropped from last week. Springfield News-Leader tells us that regional gas prices declined last week and reached an average of $2.68 per gallon of regular fuel on Monday, down from last week's price of $2.69 per gallon, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration. The average fuel price in the Midwest region rose about 3 cents since last month. According to the EIA, gas prices across the region in the last year have been as low as $2.58 on January 5th, 2026, and as high as $3.10 on April 7th, 2025. A year ago, the average gas price in the Midwest region was 10% higher at $2.98 per gallon. The average gas price in the United States last week was $2.92, making prices in the Midwest region about 8.2% lower than the nation's average. The average national gas price is lower than last week's average of $2.9 per gallon. The U.S. Energy Information Administration's tally of prices in the Midwest states includes Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee, and Wisconsin. Missouri lawmakers are divided on how to apply the A through F school grading system. Annalise Hanshaw, the Missouri Independent, comes to us with the Springfield News-Leader saying Missouri lawmakers are drawing up separate proposals in the House and Senate to respond to Governor Mike Kehoe's push for a public school accountability system that grades schools on an A through F scale. Kehoe's executive order, unveiled during his State of the State address last month, calls for the state's education department to draw up a plan by June 30th. The State Board of Education would have to approve the change for it to go into effect. But the General Assembly wants a chance to craft the new system with House and Senate committees debating legislation on A to F grading of public schools. And based on the committee's discussions in the past week, the 2 chambers' bills are likely to have key differences. The Senate Education Committee heard identical bills sponsored by Republican State Representative Ben Brown of Washington and Curtis Trent of Springfield on Tuesday afternoon, February 17th. Their base legislation largely mirrors Kehoe's request, though they presented a few edits and a committee substitute that has yet to come to a vote. Every mom and dad in Missouri, they already understand what an A, B, C, D, and F mean. They know what a good report card looks like, Brown said. But when it comes to schools, they are handed pages of acronyms and charts that don't really tell them anything in plain English as to how their child's school is actually doing. Both the House and Senate proposals include the public posting of a standardized, clear, and easily accessible report card with a letter grade based on students' scores on the state's standardized test. But the 2 chambers' legislation, which will likely undergo even more edits in the coming weeks, have a number of key differences. The House Elementary and Secondary Education Committee passed a version last week that gives an A grade to districts with the top 10% of scores. Grades B through F would be delineated by education officials. The Senate's legislation has the A through F model that everybody is familiar with, Trent said February 17th, with scores based on the percentage of points earned. It also adopts the governor's recommendation to increase the thresholds for A through D grades by 5% when 65% of schools achieve at the A or B level. Trent told committee members this was intended to motivate schools to, quote, pursue higher achievement. But the House Committee scrapped this provision, labeling it unfair to have a forever-changing target, as the committee's chairman described it. It also removed a piece that would lower schools' score by one letter grade if less than 95% of its students took the state standardized test. Instead, lower testing rates would be noted on the report cards, but without penalizing the overall score. Both House and Senate lawmakers proposed an incentive system that would provide additional funding for high-performing schools. The original bills call for a funding boost of $100 per student for schools with the top 5% of scores in academic performance and growth, and a bonus of $50 per student for schools in the top 10%. State Senator Maggie Nuremberg, a Kansas City Democrat on the Senate Education Committee, said she worried the system would benefit predominantly wealthy areas. These areas are going to receive more money, but our schools that are struggling and really need the additional support to bring up all students will not receive any incentive, she said. Trent said he viewed the incentive as a, quote, nice bonus, but was willing to cut the program if the financial incentive structure is a distraction from the core of the bill. The House kept the idea of incentives, but gave responsibility to the state's education department to determine award amounts and criteria. The bill directs officials to give bonuses to districts based on academic growth, student improvement over multiple years, improvement among historically underserved groups, career readiness, and literacy. Public testimony on the legislation has been mixed, with some parents and advocacy organizations saying the report cards will be easier to understand than the state's existing accountability systems. Groups representing public educators, though, say it puts too much emphasis on standardized testing. Mike Harris, lobbyist for the Missouri State Teachers Association, acknowledged that the state's current accountability system has its issues. However, he added, our adopted resolutions clearly oppose systems that rely on high-stakes, test-driven measures that do not include local input. And there's been a partisan clash in the Missouri Senate education hearing on transgender students. Coming to us from Annalise Hanshaw, a Missouri Independent. What began as a public hearing on a parental rights bill quickly went off the rails on Tuesday, February 10th, as the Missouri Senate Education Committee veered into talk of furries and allegations of homophobia. The rancor reached its peak after the GOP chair of the committee initiated a discussion of a trend of furries in public schools, sparking Democratic State Senator Maggie Nuremberg of Kansas City to slam the committee's priorities as a joke. We have nearly 1 million kids in Missouri schools, and I would love just to spend one hearing talking about the issues that are really impacting kids, Nuremberg said. State Senator Rick Bratton, a Harrisonville Republican who chairs the committee, flashed a brief smile, responding, when you become the chair, we will do whatever you want. The exchange unfolding during a contentious hearing on February 10th on legislation prohibiting teachers from identifying transgender students using their preferred names and pronouns laid bare the frustration of state Democrats who argue the committee has become consumed by ideological flashpoints while largely ignoring the structural challenges facing Missouri's public schools. We are fed up, Nuremberg told The Independent. It is hearing after hearing of wasting our time on nonsensical issues, and we want to talk about education. Bratton determines which bills receive hearings, and in the opening weeks of the legislative session, the committee has debated giving parents power to sue districts, diversity requirements for a board overseeing high school sports, anti-abortion curriculum for school sex ed classes, and use of preferred pronouns for transgender students. In his second year chairing the Education Committee, Bratton has not kept his views on public education a secret. In a video shared on social media last year, he criticized, quote, woke indoctrination in public schools as he advanced a bill that sought to ban critical race theory out of committee. It is one thing to get an education, or in many places a lack thereof, he said in the video, but getting an education that falls in line with the value system that me as a parent find near and dear is also a critical component of education. So these are things we are trying to move forward. His priorities, while decried by the committee's Democrats, align with the Missouri Republican Party platform, which emphasizes parents' role directing their children's education and alleges that some schools attempt to, quote, socially engineer students. In contrast to the Senate, the House Elementary and Secondary Education Committee spent the first month of the session debating legislation on teacher certification and gifted education. The House panel began the year with an informational hearing on licensure. Mike Harris, lobbyist with the Missouri State Teachers Association, said the House committee was a, quote, breath of fresh air Wednesday, February 11th, during a public hearing over a bill that would reduce repetitive teacher training requirements. He thanked the committee's chairman for, quote, continuing to focus on issues like teacher recruitment and retention and those pieces of legislation that really impact student achievement. Half of the House committee's 22 members have direct classroom or school board experience, including the chairman. In the Senate committee, just 2 of 7 members have that kind of experience. Nurenburn, a former teacher who served on the House Education Committee before being elected to the Senate in 2024, said the difference between the two chambers is stark. While we did have some divisive topics in front of us, we still talked about issues actually impacting education in classrooms, she said. And we have yet to do that this year in the Senate Education Committee. Bratton, whose office declined an interview request, responded to Democratic critics of the committee's focus by pointing to passage of the open enrollment bill on February 10th. Nurenburn voted no, which Bratton slammed as a vote against allowing students to, quote, get out of failing school districts and get to a school where they could learn. Nurenburn didn't like how the committee handled that bill, but it was the February 10th public hearing on legislation that would prohibit transgender students from socially transitioning at school that brought her to her tipping point. The bill would bar teachers from using students' preferred names or pronouns and would require schools to fire educators and revoke their licenses if they fail to comply. If a student mentions being transgender, the school would be required to report the conversation to their parents. Bill sponsor, State Senator Joe Nicola, a Republican from Independence, said the legislation is necessary to bar schools from secretly facilitating a student's social transition. Opponents called the hearing a distraction from the real work of educating children. We are wasting our time yet again targeting children across the state of Missouri, said Maggie Olivia of Abortion Action Missouri, calling the proceeding a, quote, sham of a hearing. Just a week earlier, the committee heard a bill mandating that schools teach human growth and development by the end of 3rd grade using an anti-abortion framework. That hearing frequently devolved into moral debates over abortion, including Bratton pressing witnesses on whether a fetus should be considered a baby. The February 10th hearing followed a similar path. As testimony grew heated, committee members sparred with witnesses and each other. State Senator Stephen Weber, a Columbia Democrat, challenged an activist opposing transgender rights on broader issues such as gay marriage and non-discrimination protections, asking whether Republicans' oppositions to these policies amounted to homophobia. Do you always question people without good faith? The witness replied. Weber accused another witness of wasting the committee's time. This is the most egregious thing I've ever seen, Weber said, though not into the microphone. You are the one being disrespectful to the witnesses and calling members of this committee homophobic in your questioning, Bratton said. So you're the one going down this road. You're the one being disrespectful. Nurenburn said the committee has become a, quote, absolute spectacle. West Plains resident Stevie Miller, a former educator, abandoned his prepared remarks as he addressed the committee. What are we doing here? He said. I had a whole bunch of things to say, but watching this display, what is this? You guys are supposed to be in charge of making laws, and whenever we come up here, you just disregard what you're actually supposed to be doing in order to attack vulnerable communities. The focus on punitive legislation aimed at educators carries real consequences, Otto Fagen, legislative director for the Missouri National Education Association, told senators. When you continue to have bills like this before the Senate Education Committee, doing the things you're trying to do in this fashion, it does get noticed, he said. It affects whether people hang on in the profession, and it is another thing that affects whether people choose to go into educator prep programs. And in a lifestyle story from the Springfield News-Leader, brought to us from Kate Perez, we meet Pim, the Girl Scout whose internet fame catapulted her cookie sales. A 6-year-old Girl Scout in Pennsylvania is absolutely crushing cookie sales this year and is well on her way to beating an all-time record. Following a bout of social media virality, a scout with Troop 71047 named Pim has sold over 100,000 boxes of cookies and counting, and every sale inches her closer to breaking the record for most Girl Scout cookies ever sold. The kindergartner, who broke the single-season cookie record sale earlier this year, hopes to eclipse the all-time career sales record of 180,000 boxes held by Girl Scout Katie Francis. And Pim is getting close, with over 105,560 boxes sold as of February 16th. The famed Girl Scout cookie boxes, sold annually between winter and spring, is a way for Girl Scouts to earn money for their local troop, as well as fund activities and experiences for themselves. Cookies are sold door-to-door, at a booth, or online. USA Today spoke with Pim and her family about her first cookie season, her experience as a Girl Scout, and how she got to her record-breaking numbers. The majority of Pim's videos start with a simple question. Hi, my name is Pim. Do you want to buy some Girl Scout cookies? Often decked out in her Girl Scout vest and speaking in a soft voice, the question has earned her thousands of sales and adoring fans on TikTok. While Pim might be considered a cookie-selling sensation now, just a year ago she was having trouble finding and accepting Girl Scout troop to join. Her father, Luke Anorak Neal, told USA Today. Pim, who her family describes as having disabilities, faced some resistance when she tried to join local troops near her, he shared. Pim had first expressed a desire to join the Girl Scouts after seeing a group of girls selling cookies at age 3, he added. The family eventually found a welcoming troop formed of all kindergartners like Pim entering the program for the first time at the earliest level, Daisies. While Pim was initially scared to go to meetings and events, she now enjoys the extracurricular activity and has made friends. Pim, who can sometimes have trouble communicating and forming complete sentences, told USA Today she's been able to go to a sleepover and a monster truck event so far. When it came time for cookie season, the video started simply and as a request from Girl Scouts as a way to sell cookies, Anorak Neal said. Each year, selling a certain number of boxes correlates with prizes and trips for the Scouts, like summer camp, as well as money earned for the troops and internal Girl Scout dollars for the girls to spend on those experiences. Following is a photo of Pim, age 6, posing in her Daisy Girl Scout vest, which is blue, and it appears she already has several patches on it. She's got glasses and she's smiling. Adorable little girl. Pim was hesitant at first, but after seeing the reward for selling 2,026 boxes was a trip to Niagara Falls, her goal was set. Niagara Falls is a special place for Anorak Neal and his partner Don Neal, and the pair planned to take Pim there for the first time last year. However, Neal learned he needed a lung transplant and the trip was called off. Pim surpassed that goal and secured her spot on the trip without the help of social media, Anorak Neal said. After she decided she wanted to keep selling. She first went viral when she asked people to buy boxes to help her reach her next goal, 5,000 boxes, and it snowballed from there. As the sales increased, so did Pim's box goal. While it might seem as though Pim is only getting her sales through social media, she is also asking people in person to buy cookies. Selling door-to-door is actually fun for her because she's curious to see the inside of people's homes, Anorak Neal said. For her, that's the exciting part of going door-to-door. She wants to know what people's houses look like, and then they decide that she's cute and they want to buy cookies from her, and it makes her so happy, Anorak Neal said. Her face when she sells cookies is just awesome. While the internet has loved Pim enough to buy over 100,000 boxes of cookies from her, the support doesn't stop there. The comment section of Pim's TikTok videos are flooded with praise for the kindergartner. Other people have taken on making their own videos about Pim, including posting hauls of the delivered cookies they ordered from the kindergartner and other supportive clips. "Just one of Pim's soldiers doing their duty," reads the text in one video of a box of different Girl Scout cookie flavors. Pim sees the positivity, including the comments on her own videos. She said she sometimes is the person responding to those messages, Interact Neil said. He uses the moment as a lesson for Pim to learn acknowledging when someone does something nice for you, he added. There are days she actually does the heart emoji and the thank you using the predictive text on the keyboard. Some of those actually legitimately come from Pim, and it's my job to teach her, look, this person bought your cookies, so they get acknowledged and they get told thank you, Interact Neil said. The support has continued in person. Hailing from the Pittsburgh area of Pennsylvania, Pim's troop falls in the Girl Scouts Western Pennsylvania Council in the state. Pim's cookie sales have caught attention and pride. Council PR and marketing coordinator Mina Beach told USA Today via email. Girl Scouts Western Pennsylvania is so proud of Pim's success in reaching her goals in the cookie program and excited about all the fun things her and her troop will do with the proceeds, Beach wrote. The Girl Scout cookie program helps provide amazing experiences for girls of all ages, even for girls as young as kindergarten like Pim. People in Pim's community have also been excited by her sales, including her church community and Girl Scout troop, Interact Neil said. Whether the sales come from social media or in person, Interact Neil said Pim is the one doing the work by asking people if they want to purchase cookies from her. People ask us all the time, I don't get it, what is she doing? They tell me I'm doing all the work, and I go, no, they're getting exactly what they want. They're getting the girl asking them, that is what they want, Interact Neil said. That's why it's working. It's not me with a picture of my kid, it's her making the ask, and that's why it works. Following is another picture of Pim as she poses while she's selling door to door. She's wearing a blue hooded jacket that is a little bit big on her and hiding her eyes a little bit. With over 30 days left in her cookie season, both Pim and Interact Neil said they're excited to see where it goes while also supporting other Girl Scouts and other Girl Scout troops. For Interact Neil, seeing Pim's confidence grow with every new video alongside the joy she creates for viewers is reward enough, though he hopes she continues to enjoy the troop and one day try for a coveted Girl Scout award. Her skills are growing, and who she is as a person is growing, and her being comfortable being herself. We love her for who she is, Interact Neil said. And someday, when she's going for her bronze, silver, gold awards, she may be somebody who has way more skills than we ever thought she could be because of how we're supporting her now, and that is incredible. Well, way to go, Pim. I hope you meet all of your goals in life. Okay, let's see how much Missouri's unemployment numbers changed last week. Looks like this was actually published about a week ago here. Staff reports from the USA Today network coming to us from the Springfield News-Leader. Initial filings for unemployment benefits in Missouri dropped last week compared with the week prior, the U.S. Department of Labor said Thursday. New jobless claims, a proxy for layoffs, fell to 3,828 in the week ending February 7th, down from 6,776 the week before, the Labor Department said. U.S. unemployment claims dropped to 227,000 last week, down 5,000. Claims from 232,000 the week prior on a seasonally adjusted basis. Virginia saw the largest percent increase in weekly claims, with claims jumping by 68.8%. Missouri, meanwhile, saw the largest percentage drop in new claims, with claims dropping by 43.5%. And I want to thank you for listening to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. Come by and see us in person with daily deals at 2713 North Kansas Expressway in Springfield, Missouri. Veterans receive a 25% discount every day, providing significant savings as a token of appreciation for their service. Additionally, the store features a weekly clothing sale where all clothing items are available at 50% off every Wednesday. Seniors aged 55 and older benefit from a 25% discount every Tuesday, making shopping more affordable for the senior community. And in further news today, Where was there a measles exposure at the St. Louis airport? Oh, goodness. Ahmed Jawadi brings us the story with Springfield News-Leader. Missouri health officials are warning travelers about a possible measles exposure at a St. Louis Lambert International Airport. The Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services said an out-of-state resident with a confirmed case of measles traveled through the St. Louis airport between 5 and 7 p.m. on Saturday, February 7th. The individual arrived on a domestic flight at Terminal 2. The person was also at baggage claim and rode parking spot shuttle number 3 to the parking area. Health officials said passengers on the affected flight are being notified directly. Our department is working closely with state partners to provide clear guidance and information to protect the health and safety of everyone in our community, St. Louis Health Commissioner Victoria Anwuri said in a news release. Measles is not just a routine childhood illness, it is a highly contagious and potentially serious disease. Measles is an airborne viral illness considered one of the most contagious diseases in the world, with one infected person easily capable of spreading it to 9 out of 10 people around them who are unvaccinated or do not have natural immunity. The virus spreads through tiny nasal and throat droplets in the air and on surfaces after those who are infected sneeze or cough. Once the virus is airborne or on surfaces, it can remain active for up to 2 hours. It can lead to severe complications and death, especially in children under 5 and pregnant women. So what are the symptoms of measles? Measles symptoms usually appear 14 days after exposure. The first phase of symptoms typically lasts between 4 and 7 days and includes a moderate fever, cough, runny nose, red eyes, sore throat, and small white spots inside the cheeks. The next phase begins with a reddish rash, which comes 3 to 5 days after the first symptoms. The rash usually starts at the hairline before spreading to the rest of the body over the next few days. The rash can be itchy and lasts around 6 days before fading. Other symptoms include swollen eyes, a high fever, loss of appetite, and fatigue. So what's the best way to treat most measles cases? Unfortunately, there is no specific cure for measles. Symptoms such as fever and cough may be managed with fluids, rest, and over-the-counter medications. People infected with measles should seek medical care if they experience difficulty breathing, dehydration, or a high persistent fever. And how do we prevent them? Vaccination is the most effective way to prevent measles. The vaccine comes in 2 doses that are usually administered before age 2. The measles vaccine is considered safe and affordable and is often combined with immunization for mumps and rubella. As of February 12th, there were 910 confirmed cases of measles in the U.S., according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Of the confirmed cases, 754 were patients aged 19 and younger. In comparison, there were a total of 2,280 confirmed cases for the full year of 2025, of which 7 were in Missouri. And the FBI looks for a Missouri man wanted in a cattle fraud scheme. Marta Meets with the Springfield News-Leader says the FBI is looking for a Stratford man allegedly connected to a multi-state wire fraud scheme through a cattle sale business. Joshua Link, age 32, was among 5 people indicted by a federal grand jury in Fort Worth, Texas on Wednesday, February 11th in an alleged nationwide fraud scheme totaling $220 million. Of the 5 people invited, Link is facing the highest number of criminal charges: 10 counts of wire fraud, 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and 2 counts of money laundering. He is the only one of the group that remains a fugitive. All of the people indicted were associated with Agridime, LLC, a business headquartered in Fort Worth that offered cattle sales and meat processing and retail services to the public, according to an FBI news release. Link served as the executive director. In a 17-page criminal complaint, the FBI alleges Link and his co-conspirators executed cattle contracts with cattle purchasers that claimed Agridime would use the purchasers' funds to purchase cattle, care for them, process the meat, and sell it, but instead allegedly used those funds to pay for operating expenses and loan payments and to clear debts owed to earlier cattle purchasers. Those related to the scheme are accused of falsely representing in public and private advertising statements of how profitable the investment would be to individual cattle purchasers, cattle ranchers, and feedlots. Following is a photo of Joshua Link, the Stratford man who is wanted by the FBI after being indicted for wire fraud. It's a white man with dark blonde hair and blue eyes, beard and mustache. According to the court document, they are also accused of fraudulently overstating the valuation of Agrodyne's meat inventory and the amount of cattle owned by the business, dispersing funds paid by cattle purchasers to pay themselves excessive salaries, and diverting company funds to pay for their own personal expenses. The FBI alleges Joshua Link and Tia Link, also a defendant in the case, received more than $2.7 million of combined salary and commission payments during the time that the fraud scheme is alleged to have occurred, from at least January 2021 through December 2023. Court documents allege another $2.4 million went to Jed Wood, a defendant and operations director of Agrodyne, and his spouse, and nearly $7 million in commission payments were paid to defendant Taylor Bang, a cattle broker. Funds were also distributed to purchase more sheep for purposes unrelated to business operations, and more than $4 million was transferred to a bank account held in the name of another entity created and owned by Joshua Link and Wood, purportedly to operate as a transportation company to deliver retail meat to vendors, according to court documents. The criminal complaint also describes how the defendants allegedly tried to conceal the scheme by generating fraudulent business records, planned to alter dates of sale to influence USDA's review of business practices, and violated cease and desist orders. More than 2,200 individual victims throughout the country paid a combined $220 million into the scheme, per the FBI. If convicted, defendants face up to 20 years in federal prison for each count of wire fraud, another 20 years imprisonment for wire fraud conspiracy, and up to 10 years for each count of money laundering, according to the release. Bang and Tia Link already appeared for arraignment and were released under pretrial supervision, while other defendants are set to appear on February 25th. Joshua Link remains a fugitive, with the FBI requesting that the public share any information they have on his location. Beyond Missouri, Joshua Link has ties to Kansas, Illinois, Arkansas, Colorado, and Arizona. Joshua Link is a white man with brown hair and blue eyes. He is 6 feet 1 inches tall and weighs 185 pounds. Tips can be submitted online at tips.fbi.gov. And Janice Reeser with the Springfield News-Leader tells us that a Missouri report finds rural veterans that are facing urgent health gaps. A new report from the Missouri Rural Health Association highlights significant health disparities faced by rural veterans in Missouri. The report, Beyond the Battlefield, Restoring Connection for Missouri's Rural Veterans, draws from the association's upcoming 2026 Rural Health Needs Assessment. It reveals that Missouri veterans experience suicide rates 74% higher than their civilian counterparts and 23% higher than veterans nationwide, according to a community announcement. The research underscores the challenges of isolation, limited access to health care, and unmet service-related health needs. Our research makes it clear that too many rural veterans in Missouri are falling through the cracks of our healthcare and support systems, Heidi Lucas, Executive Director of the Missouri Rural Health Association, said in the announcement. These disparities are not inevitable. They are the result of gaps in access, infrastructure, and support that we have both the power and the responsibility to close. The paper identifies several challenges facing rural veterans, including 85% of rural veterans lack access to dental care. More than 60% of rural veterans live with a service-related injury. Disability due to service-related injury has doubled from 2008 to 2022. National Salute to Veterans Patients Week recognizes veterans receiving care in VA and community health settings and highlights the importance of supporting their health and well-being. The research reinforces the need for targeted investments in rural health infrastructure, mental health services, workforce capacity, and coordinated care models that reflect the realities of rural veterans, according to the announcement. Rural veterans often face longer travel distances, fewer providers, and limited specialty care, all while managing complex physical and mental health needs. Lucas said in the announcement, If we are serious about honoring their service, we must be equally serious about building systems that meet them where they are. The full report is available at mrhassociation.org/research. The Missouri Rural Health Association is a nonprofit organization focused on improving the health of rural Missourians through advocacy, collaboration, and education. Give me just one moment here. The Ozark Board of Aldermen approves sewer and water rate hikes for 2026. Zoe McIntyre with Springfield Daily Citizen reports that Ozark's Board of Aldermen approved water and sewer rate increases of 17.5% for 2026 on Tuesday, February 17th. The increases will take effect on April 1st. Through careful planning, operational efficiencies, and the use of reserves, we have delayed increases as long as possible, and that approach is no longer sustainable, Mayor Don Currence said in a written statement during the February 17th meeting. Ozark last increased its water rates in 2015 and sewer rates in 2020. Although Tuesday's vote only approved a rate increase for 2026, the Public Works Department is recommending incremental increases through 2035. In meetings on February 2nd and 17th, Public Works Director Jeremy Parsons compared Ozark to neighboring cities, stating that 90% of the communities around here have incremental rate increases each year. We're having to capture a larger percentage of revenue up front simply because we didn't do incremental increases, Parsons said. The Board of Aldermen approved the sewer and water rate increases for 2026 in two separate votes. The board voted 4-1 on each decision, with Alderman David Snyder in opposition. There's a chart that gives the 2025 rates versus the 2026 rates. Water within city limits in 2025 was $12.50 for the first 1,000 gallons. It will now be $14.69. Was $3.30 for each 1,000 gallons after, and it will now be $3.88. For the sewer within city limits, in 2025, it was $10 for the first 1,000 gallons and $8 per each 1,000 gallons after. That has increased in 2026 to $11.75 for the first 1,000 gallons and $9.40 per each 1,000 gallons after. For water outside the city limits, last year it was a rate of $18.75 per first 1,000 gallons and $4.95 for each 1,000 after. That is going up to $22.03 per first 1,000 gallons and $5.82 per each $1,000 gallons after. Finally, for the sewer outside the city limits, the rate was $15 for the first 1,000 gallons and $12 per 1,000 gallons after. That is now increasing to $17.63 per first 1,000 gallons and $14.10 per each 1,000 gallons after. The Public Works Department is recommending rate increases of 8.5% in 2027, 5% from 2028 to 2030, and 2% from 2031 to 2035, according to a February 2nd presentation from Parsons. During this presentation, Parsons said the city has identified about $104 million in projects that must be completed over the next 10 years just to keep up, not only with growth, but with aging infrastructure. At the same time, he said the department is facing rising costs for pipes and power due to inflation. So what we've outlined for you is an opportunity for us to catch up with those expenses and then work towards an incremental rate increase that is predictable that people can see, Parsons said. In a February 19th phone interview with the Daily Citizen, Snyder said that he spoke to people before Tuesday's meeting who were unhappy with the rate increases. There may be a need for a rate increase, but not 17.5% on the first round, Snyder said, adding, "I think the rate increases are just a bad thing. I don't think we need to increase rates just to keep up with surrounding communities." Snyder said that the increase for water and sewer services may burden people who are on fixed and low incomes and deter some people from wanting to live in Ozark. The Public Works Department should focus on addressing the immediate needs with sewage and water pipes in the city before suggesting rate hikes, he said. I also believe the developers need to have a hand in this as well, Snyder said. He expressed that developers should be responsible to bear at least part of the burden for new infrastructure. It was previous city leadership that probably put the city in this predicament, Snyder said. In his opinion, city leaders pushed the city in the direction of irresponsible growth prior to 2020, he said. And neighboring communities face tough decisions. Parsons referenced the city of Republic in his initial presentation to the Board of Aldermen. Republic is in the process of building a new $150 million water treatment plant to address longstanding compliance issues with the Missouri Department of Natural Resources. Republic approved water and sewer rate hikes to fund new infrastructure and service debt from the project, with base rates for water within city limits set to increase from $16.76 in 2025 to $31.76 in 2027. I'm not in any way disparaging our neighbor. We love working with Republic, but we don't want to get to this point, Parsons said. It's just a case study in saying, hey, let's get ahead of this before we get to that point, because they're facing some tough decisions right now, just as every other community in the region. Snyder suggested on February 17th that Republic is facing difficult water and sewer decisions because of its rapid development. I believe what they did over there was self-inflicted with all of their excessive growth all at one time, he said. He asked Parsons whether Ozark could be heading in the direction of excessive growth with projects like the 229-acre Marabella development, which was approved on November 4, 2025. In response to this question, Parsons said, I think that we've got a plan in place that not only protects our existing infrastructure, but prioritizes the improvements that we need to make in the future, regardless of if we have population growth. There's certain things that we just need in that area for redundancy, for fire protection, for those types of things. The cities of Nixa, Ozark, and Republic have planned and budgeted projects in 2026 that will upgrade public amenities and infrastructure. And in arts and culture news from the Springfield Daily Citizen, Jeff Kessinger tells us that Laura French is enjoying the journey to becoming Springfield's jazz chanteuse. Laura French's life goals didn't really align with an entertainment career. The Springfield native discovered her love of performing as a child on the Landers Theater stage, but she knew she didn't want to make a living there. By the time I got to college, music was clearly my passion, but I wanted to be really intentional and smart about how I pursued it because I also knew I wanted a family and I wanted stability and structure, and it's such a hustle being in the entertainment industry, French said on February 17th. Instead, the working mother of two has carved out a space as Springfield's jazz chanteuse, performing a few gigs per week and recording music in her spare time. Her third single, Pure Imagination, will be released on February 27th. A pre-save link is live now. I wish I had more time to pursue all things music, but I also remind myself that this is my passion, this is my hobby, and I think because it's not my job, it's even more fun, French said. I can be selective about what I pursue and what I do because it's not putting bread on the table necessarily. That gives me a little bit more freedom to pursue the things that I am excited about. So how about taking her show on the road at age 5? Following is a photo of Laura French as she's attending jazz nights at Holdfast Brewing. She has got a bright, big smile on her face, wearing a bold red dress and dark hair. Very beautiful woman. French's talent was apparent from a young age. She put on shows for her parents who helped her find performance opportunities. When I was like 5 years old, my parents were trying to decide if I was good or if they were just biased, blinded by love, she said. They took my little shows on the road to local nursing homes, and I would perform for the residents. I had choreography and everything. I've always been drawn to singing and storytelling with your voice. Her father saw an ad in the newspaper that Springfield Little Theater was holding auditions for a musical and encouraged his 9-year-old daughter to give it a shot. She was cast in Starmites, which starred a pre-Disney Channel Lucas Grabeel. French's role was more in the background. They had kids as these little alien droids who moved the set pieces in the background, so you couldn't even see my face, French said. I had like a death mask covering it.
That was my first show, but I was hooked. I ended up doing probably 12 or 13 Springfield Little Theater productions throughout my childhood. I just adored it. The soprano was classically trained and studied vocal performance while getting an arts administration degree from Drury University. After college, French sang with the Springfield area big band, the Wings of Swing. The experience, which she said was wonderful and fun, taught her more about the Great American Songbook and what it's like to work with a band. When the COVID pandemic hit, she was working from home with a 3-month-old and a 2-year-old. Nobody was really singing much in public then. In 2022 or 2023, I kind of came up for air and was like, oh yeah, I'm my own person with my hobbies and my interests, French said. I started treating myself to Tuesday night jazz at Holdfast Brewing. Jeff Gouch and Mark Brueggemann, they made an arrangement with Holdfast co-owner Carol McLeod that they would have jazz every Tuesday, and there was this community of people that came out and started listening to jazz. So I showed up. I started going. This was like my little gift to myself on Tuesdays to go and listen to jazz. She spoke with Gouch and Brueggemann, who invited her on stage and gave her a chance to sing again. It was invigorating, but eventually she realized her skills weren't where she wanted them to be. I sang jazz, but I didn't sing jazz until more recently, French said. The more I learned, the more I realized I don't know about jazz. I've really been studying the art form more and more over the last couple years, and I almost feel worse today than I did 3 years ago, just because my ear is more developed and I know more than I did. I've really been taking the song form more seriously. I've been transcribing solos and trying to learn how to swing. It's just been a pursuit that has really invigorated me and given me a lot of energy and purpose. The pursuit also included online singing lessons with a Detroit-based jazz singer named Olivia Van Goor, whom French discovered on TikTok. She said Van Goor taught her how to communicate with bands, how to set up songs, what chords are doing, when she harmonizes, and more. Van Goor also encouraged French to start putting out music and do it the right way. Last summer, I flew out to Detroit and met her in person, French said. She had a home studio, and so I recorded there. The only way I was going to record the first time was if she was literally holding my hand, helping me through. French released her first 2 singles, On the Street Where You Live and The Trolley Song, in September 2025. They're available to stream on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Music. Following is another photo of Laura French as she is performing in public, wearing a black dress and a very elegant updo. Pure Imagination, French's 3rd single, was written in one day over the phone by Anthony Newley and Leslie Brickhuse for the 1971 film Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's a personal favorite of hers. The harmonies never quite land where you expect them to, and I love how the film is like that, French said. You never know what Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka is going to do. It's so unhinged. This song was recorded in Springfield at Jeff Smith's Studio 2100. I have Kyle Aho on piano and Matt Struber on bass, French said. This is a song we've been performing together for the last couple of years in different settings, as a trio or sometimes with drums or trumpets, but I wanted to keep it simple and intimate. We went into the studio, we did a run-through, we recorded it in one take, and we were like, okay, that's it, we're done. But when you've been working with people for a couple of years and you really trust them, it's easy. I'm very excited to put it out there. Following is another photo of Laura French as she performs with the Brueggemann Gouge Jazz Band. She's wearing a navy blue dress and heels, standing at a microphone. And behind her are 4 white gentlemen playing instruments. French said she sometimes misses singing with her classical operatic tone, but jazz has her whole heart. She loves being freed from structured arrangements that tell everyone when to come in and how the song is going to end. In a more traditional jazz setting, it's a lot more fluid and improvisational, French said. And you have to cue the band how you're going to end the song. You have to decide when to come back in and how many solos the band's going to take. It's just more fluid. There's also more room to color and paint a song how you want to in jazz. So you could do a song as a bossa nova, or you could do it more up-tempo as a samba, or you can really slow it down and do it as a ballad. There's just more freedom to improvise and play with the music in a smaller jazz combo setting than a big band. French described her love of jazz as laser-focused or even obsessed. I'm pretty obsessed right now because there's so much I want to learn. like improvisation. I work with all these amazing musicians who are just fantastic at finding harmonies and going from one to the next, and I'm not there yet. I can't improvise like that, but I'd love to be able to someday. It's just finding the time to transcribe and learn, and it's going to take me longer, I think, than a young student in college, just given I'm kind of being pulled in so many different directions as a 30-something-year-old mom with a full-time job and 2 kids. French still isn't interested in pursuing stardom. She's more than happy to keep studying jazz and performing in Springfield and occasionally with guitarist Ryan Fort in Northwest Arkansas. She does it with the full support of her husband Greg, whom she calls her biggest cheerleader. I would love to, in 10 years, look back and see how I've progressed, she said. I know progress isn't linear, but I would like to see that bar graph go up. I want to be a stronger artist a decade from now. I want to have a better ear. I want to be better at improvisation and just have a deeper connection with my music. I'm just working towards personal and professional fulfillment and making memories along the way, having fun with all of my friends. Following is another photo of Laura French as she leans over a piano in a bold red dress, holding a couple of roses. It's a very elegant and striking color combo. She's also making connections with audience members, bonding over a love of the art form or personal ties to songs she performs. One group of fans has dubbed themselves her GGs, geriatric groupies. And that's not all. French is enjoying the process of making art simply for art's sake. Life is too short to not make art and have fun doing it, she said. Do things that bring you joy. You don't have to be the best. Get out of your own head. Get out of your own way and go make art because life is short. Do you want to hear more? Springfield's jazz scene thrives a bit under the radar, but there are plenty of opportunities to hear the music. The Gillios Jazz Festival is April 4th with a headlining concert by the Springfield-based Missouri Jazz Orchestra, also known as Mojo, and Aubrey Logan, the Queen of Sass. The city has also hosted a free jazz festival downtown in the fall in recent years. Last year's Downtown Jazz Takeover was held in September. Laura French's mentors, Jeff Gouge and Mark Brueggemann, play 2 nights a week with the Brueggemann Gouge Jazz Band, Tuesdays at Holdfast Brewing, and Thursdays at Schultz and Dooley's. And there's the Arthur Duncan Trio, and they have jazz on Monday nights, French said. And Brandon Mazzello has a group that performs at the Warehouse Bar. And so if you're really a fan, you could almost hear jazz every night of the week in Springfield if you wanted to because there's so much talent. Drury University, Evangel University, and Missouri State University all have jazz ensembles that perform. Drury will also host its 59th Annual Jazz Festival, a competitive event for high school students, on February 28th. And let's see. There's a man sentenced to a day in Greene County Jail for speeding at 122 miles per hour. Coming to us from Steve Pokin at the Springfield Daily Citizen. The article begins with a photo of the new Greene County Jail prior to its opening in June of 2022. The space is largely very gray and industrial looking, with cages around some of the residential openings. There's a touch of green that adds some color. Cole Goff, age 20, was sentenced this month to spend 24 hours of shock time in the Greene County Jail from 8 a.m. Tuesday, February 17th to 8 a.m. the next day. The reason? For driving fast. Way too fast. On June 21st last summer, court documents say a trooper with the Missouri State Highway Patrol clocked Goff at 122 miles per hour in a 2017 Ford 250 pickup. The time was 6:45 p.m. The location is scratched off on the citation, but it was in a 60-mile-per-hour zone. At that speed, according to online calculators, an alert driver on a dry, flat road has a stopping distance of 326 yards. A football field is 100 yards for reference. The speeding violation, more than 25 miles per hour above the speed limit, is a Class B misdemeanor punishable by up to 6 months in jail. Goff was also ticketed for failure to display license plates, an infraction, operating a vehicle without a title, an infraction, failure to wear a seatbelt, an infraction, and operating a vehicle with excessive tint on the windshield and a side window, a Class C misdemeanor. Goss had an attorney. He entered a negotiated plea of guilty February 5th and was ordered to pay fines totaling $281.50 and to complete 80 hours of community service work within 6 months. He was also ordered to attend an Alive at 25 class. According to the website, Alive at 25 is a highly effective 4-hour course that serves as an excellent complement to standard driver education programs. Participants in the Alive at 25 class will learn the negative effects and dangers associated with speeding, distractions, peer pressure, and driver inexperience. Topics discussed include, but are not limited to, current state laws related to speeding, impaired driving, seatbelt usage, and cell phone usage to include texting. Speeding has been an emphasis for local law enforcement agencies in recent years as police work to cut down on deadly crashes in the region. Prior to announcing enhanced enforcement efforts, Springfield Police on August 23, 2024, made a Facebook post showing several instances of drivers caught going over 100 miles per hour. Following is a screenshot of that post from the Springfield, Missouri Police Department that states, "Slow down." Contrary to what these individuals may think, Highway 65 and James River Freeway are not drag strips. The speed limit on both highways through Springfield is 60 miles per hour, and if you're going through the construction zone, it's 50 miles per hour. Following that are 5 images of radar gun readings, the first of which is 112 miles per hour, another at 100 miles per hour, a third at 103 miles per hour, the fourth at 102 miles per hour, and the final one at 105 miles per hour. Slow down out there, guys. It is not worth going to jail. In high school sports news, a diver's journey. How a Central High School senior overcame hardship to become a 4-time state qualifier. From Ryan Collingwood at the Springfield Daily Citizen, we start this article with a photo of Central High School star diver Journey Wildshoots as she smiles before practice on Tuesday, February 18th at the John H. Foster Natatorium in Springfield. She's wearing a bright red swimsuit and sitting on a diving board smiling. And a transcontinental adoption process is credited for the inspiration behind Central senior Journey Wildshoots' distinct first name. It involved a New York-based agency, a Springfield mother's trip to a Russian orphanage, and the loving acceptance of a toddler whose congenital birth defect would require several grueling hospital visits. 15 years and more than a dozen surgeries later, Wildshoots, born in Eastern Europe with a cleft lip and palate, has distinguished herself as one of the premier divers in her Missouri high school classification. The recent Class 1 Division III champion, 4-time state qualifier, and 1-time state medalist competes Thursday, February 19th at the MSHSAA Swimming and Diving Championships at St. Peter's Recplex. This may be the final week she ever steps on a springboard in a competitive setting. Following is a photo of Wildshoots as she is diving, as she's midair in her red swimsuit diving off the board. "I'm probably not going to dive in college because of my body," said Wildshoots, who recalled a past surgery that included a bone graft from her hip that was transferred to her face. "It's getting a little worn down." Wildshoots will board a flight next month to Chicago to meet with doctors about an upcoming jaw procedure. When that surgery is finished, she said she expects to go under the knife yet again for her nose. Advancements in cleft surgeries have vastly improved facial, breathing, and speech functions over the years, as well as the patient's appearance. Adrenaline-inducing acrobatic leaps into the water have a way of taking her mind off of her stressors. She uses being an athlete as a way to feel good, said Summer Wildshoots, who'd aptly name her daughter Journey following the overseas adoption. "I knew she'd be busy, but I didn't know if she'd be a 4-time state qualifier. We've been really blessed. If I'm angry from something at school, I'll just come to practice, dive, and get my mind off of it," Journey said. School doesn't come as easily for Wildshoots as her extracurricular activities, which include a spot in Central's drum and bugle corps, the Kilties. A learning disability has made some classes harder for her than others. She's heard her share of unsavory comments along the way. "People would bully me a lot, but I would just tell them to leave me alone and mind their own business," she said. "If they want to be haters, they can. I don't really care." That resolve is among the reasons Central diving coach Richard Hackett enjoys teaching Wildshoots, an athlete he believes is capable of placing in the top 5 at state this week. The best thing about Journey is her resilience. She has to deal with a lot of stuff every day, said Hackett. It's amazing how she can continue to thrive in those situations. She's also a pretty good athlete, has great body control, and an ability to keep her equilibrium about her and not lose where she is in space. Following is a photo of Wild Shoots' coach, Richard Hackett, as he sits and talks about his diver. He's sitting with his legs crossed and smiling in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt and a very bushy beard. Confidence was never a problem. Hackett recalled a time when a cocky Wild Shoots was waiting for her turn in the diver's line when she began telling her competition that she was about to beat them. My goal is to go out there and have fun, said Wild Shoots, who used her experience as a gymnast to successfully transition onto the board. Diving and gymnastics are similar, just one is in the water. Instead of landing on your feet, you're landing on your head. After placing 6th in Class 1 in 2024, there are only 2 classifications in Missouri high school girls swim and dive, and missing out on the podium last year, Hackett would love to see his lone state qualifier end her impressive career with a keepsake around her neck. She's always been the underdog, Hackett said, but in her mind, she's not, and that's what's great about her. Well, good luck, Journey. I hope you do well. And Christian County Sheriff's Office was the first local agency to join the ICE program. At a crowded February 10th meeting, the Branson Board of Aldermen approved a partner program between the Branson Police Department and Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. The meeting featured hours of testimony from people in opposition and a protest outside, according to reporting from Ozarks First. Despite the vocal opposition, Branson's Board of Aldermen voted unanimously to allow Branson Police to enter a 287G agreement with ICE. The Christian County Sheriff's Office quietly entered the same program in 2025, making it the first local law enforcement agency in greener Christian counties to do so. Christian County Sheriff Brad Cole signed a memorandum of agreement with ICE on April 16, 2025, according to documents that the Daily Citizen obtained under the Missouri Sunshine Law. A deputy director from the Department of Homeland Security signed it on July 7, 2025. The 287G program authorizes ICE to delegate some immigration enforcement tasks to train Christian County Sheriff's deputies, such as interrogating and detaining people if they are suspected of being in the country illegally. A list of participating agencies on ICE.gov shows that the police departments in Ash Grove, November 19, 2025, Sparta, November 4, 2025, and Walnut Grove, December 2, 2025, have 287G task force agreements with ICE, as does the Missouri State Highway Patrol. Spokespeople for the Greene County Sheriff's Office and police departments in Springfield, Willard, Rogersville, Ozark, Nixa, and Battlefield stated that their agencies do not have 287G programs. So what actions does the 287G authorize? The 287G program has existed for decades, according to ICE, but was infrequently utilized by state and local law enforcement agencies before President Donald Trump ordered the Secretary of Homeland Security in January 2025 to execute more 287G agreements. The Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act, enacted by the U.S. Congress during the Bill Clinton administration, created 287G. Law enforcement agencies can partner with ICE in 3 different 287G programs. The task force model allows officers to identify and report suspected aliens not charged with crimes under ICE oversight and exercise limited immigration authority on ICE-led task forces, according to a brochure from ICE. Local officers receive training and supervision from ICE agents on immigration enforcement tasks. Agencies who participate in the task force model may receive reimbursements for certain equipment and the hours of work officers spend on immigration enforcement. Under the 287G task force model, officers may be authorized to interrogate people suspected of being in the country illegally, arrest people without warrants if they have entered the country illegally and may attempt to escape, serve and execute arrest warrants for immigration violations, administer oath and consider evidence for alien processing, prepare charging documents for the signature of an ICE officer, issue immigration detainers, maintain custody of people arrested by ICE, transport people to ICE-approved detention facilities. Cole said the Christian County Sheriff's Office has a personnel of 146 people, with 16 deputies trained in the 287G program to enforce immigration laws. According to ICE, the task force model may make participating agencies eligible to receive reimbursement from the federal government for vehicles, equipment, and personnel salaries and overtime. Cole said that when one of the 16 deputies trained by ICE, quote, interacts with an illegal on the street, the government reimburses the sheriff's office for those hours of work. And I want to thank you for listening to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. Tune in every week, Monday through Friday, on the Blind Community Thrift Store's YouTube channel at 10 a.m. for more up-to-date news from the Springfield News-Leader, Springfield Daily Citizen, Springfield Business Journal, and 417 Magazine. Listen after we are live on the Audio Reader Network at www.reader.ku.edu. All broadcasts are played over KSMU's subcarrier airways at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving a pre-programmed radio.